I think we're on. If you guys can hear me, can you please let me know? Some have already joined the stage, backstage on the thing, so I can see Lachlan already. So I'll add you guys in shortly. So the link, if you want to jump on at any point, is on there. So just click it, follow the prompts and stuff like that, and I'll let you in as we go, which would be good. There's a few popping in now, so we'll start off straight away. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Welcome to another episode of the Black and White United show live here on my YouTube channel. I thought today I'll just turn all the lights on anyway, but first of all, thank you so much for joining. But on top of that, we finally received our template for the Black and White United hoodies. They are some Pacific branded hoodie with obviously the Black and White United logo on there. They are a good fit. I wanted a medium, ended up getting a large, and it fits spot on. So I will be putting a link in the next, probably within the next week on my YouTube, and we can all go from there and we can order them and stuff like that. And the turnaround time will probably be about a week or so once you order. Pricing and that type of structure will be up on that. But that's enough of that stuff. First of all, I just want to say welcome to everybody for joining. We've got so many people that have come in already, which is awesome. I've pumped this live up heaps because I wanted to get everybody on, everybody to have a say instead of just hearing me all the time. It'll probably go for just over an hour that it usually does. But the main thing that I wanted to do today is get everyone's opinion while we preview the season, not so much the GWS game in particular, but just the whole season and what our actual predictions are. I'll get to everybody's comments. I know they'll be pumping throughout the night, but we are going to get people on, and there's some other things that I want to promote as well too from some mates of mine, which we'll talk about, which will be good. I'll give everyone 10 to 15 minutes or so, depending on who comes on and stuff. But before we get into all that stuff like that, the first thing I want to talk about is obviously David Hatley looking for, actually, I've got to post this one straight out. Hatters, you better jump on at some point here. They're looking forward to Malacca TV, and that one there is dedicated at me and George in particular, and I can see him in the background now. He's pissing himself laughing already. So, and your collar looks fine too, bro. Stop adjusting it. On that, let's get to it. I'll give you guys pretty much my takes, and then we can go forward from there. The pass mark for us this season, in my humble opinion, we have to aim for top 4 straight away before we look forward to any of the, grand finals deep in September, whatever it is. Fly was talking about in that interview with Damien Barrett to just qualify. Now, I'm all for that too, but I want to do more than just qualify. We need to make sure that we get top 4. Yes, Brisbane won the flag from outside the top 4 last season. However, I do think that was one of those, once every 10 years sort of things that where you can win it from outside the competition. I do believe it was a weak premiership last year, and the best team did win it, which was them. Having said that, if we obviously made it, maybe we could have shaken things up a little bit. But this season, my aim is no matter what happens, we have to get into the top 4 to have any sort of chance on making that. My standout player of the season is obviously going to be Nick Dacos. I think he'll win the Brownlow medal by far. And then my other prediction is for leading goal scorer. I know we've got the Triple M's, and they're going to spread the load, obviously, with all the goal kicking stuff. But I really do think that Bobby Hill will probably get our leading goal kicking this year. I think he's too electric. I think he's too smart, and he should be able to rove the pack every time the ball comes to ground. The only downside to that is with the tools that we've got in our team now, I don't think that we're going to have a lot of ground ball gets. I think there's going to be a lot of contested marking, which would be really nice to see. They're my main 3 predictions outside of Collingwood, which we don't really give a shit about, but I'll just give you guys a taste of what I'm thinking as well. I do think that we're probably going to see someone like, I think Geelong are going to be there. I originally tipped GWS to pretty much drop out of the finals. I think I'm already eating my words a little bit, just, maybe a bit of hesitation in what I think. I do think they'll probably finish in the top 8 now. And the other team that I think is a bit of a smoky this season is Fremantle, provided they don't die in the arse towards the end. So that's my sort of thoughts and stuff like that. But I'm going to now. That's just my general predictions, but I want to sort of see what everyone else is thinking. So I'm going to start adding people on. God help us. I don't know where this is going to take us, but it is what it is. First and foremost, I'm going to add the two guys from the RCCS social page. So we've got Lachlan and George. I'm just about to add them now. They should be able to. Sorry, that's the wrong one. We've got one here. There we go. Boys, can you hear me? Robbo, can you hear me?
Yes.
Go, yeah.
Thanks for having
us on.
So,
guys, tell me, first of all, all good. First of all, before we get into your predictions and stuff like that or what's going to happen, I want you guys to give me a 2-minute spiel. Lachlan, you can go first because I hear George all the time. It does my head in. But I want you to give me a quick rundown on how you guys formed the page that you guys have, which has now got, I think, what is it, like 12, 14, 15,000 followers and stuff on Facebook. Tell us how you started it.
Yeah, 21,000 now. I actually didn't start it. George started it a long time before I was ever part of it. But I met George at the Cricketers Arms Hotel, and we sort of got to talking, and obviously I recognised him and knew who he was, and made a connection through. I run the Collingwood Magpies Facebook group and have done for a number of years. That's the largest, actually the largest AFL fan group on Facebook.
Pump it up.
Yeah. So, look, we've got to sort of talking about social media, Collingwood, everything, after a game a couple of years ago. At the Cricketers Arms Hotel, and had a few sort of ideas about ways that we could work together. And George decided to sort of bring me into the RCCS game, and we've been working together ever since on a few sort of things around RCCS and some of the things that we're sort of building around the brand more broadly, including but not limited to, merch, brand deals with some local venues and that sort of thing. So it's been a good, it's been good. It's been really, really good fun. So that's I've been involved for sort of how long now? 2 years?
Yeah, about 2 years.
About 2 years. Yeah. So that's my thing. But prior to that, I was Collingwood, and still now Collingwood Magpies is the Facebook group, and we've got 32,000 members. So we are the biggest AFL fan group on Facebook.
That's awesome. That's grouse. Does that make you nervous though sometimes when like you post something and you're a bit worried that it might not get the reception?
All the time.
Yeah, there's so many things that can go wrong. Like there's things that can be, I think from a social media standpoint, you probably will have experienced this. We're thinking about this all the time. It's like, first of all, your post can flop, or you can do something that's like going to rub someone the wrong way, or you can post something and get a copyright strike, or like there's just so many things that can go wrong, right? So it's
and it also depends. It also depends on how the team's going as well. Like that's probably the ultimate thing. Like if the team's going shit, then you obviously want to post something, but it's like, oh God, how's this going to look or whatever. And then when the team's going good, like a couple of years ago, and we're doing like amazing things, and even if you think it's a flop post, you're still going to post it because you don't care because we're about to win the flag.
Yeah, well, that's it.
So George, tell me quickly. Just I really want to get into the whole thing where you guys have got a venue now on board for during the season for pre-games and stuff like that, and I wanted to use this. Use this platform to obviously promote that because I'm going to be down there a fair bit as well. Tell us what the news is, even though you've already posted it, let people know, but also tell us how you guys came about that.
Yeah, so this is probably our third venue now. We've done Cricketers Arms and Hotel Collingwood. Now we moved on to Pink Lemonade. So yeah, basically we sent out a few cold emails. Got Lachlan to finish it off.
Yeah, nice. So just a bit of sales skills there,
no,
just making sure that was all sorted.
Like,
So what's the go for the pre-game stuff? Is there going to be like drink specials or what for people to get in, or are we just getting together and doing whatever?
Yeah, that's
nice.
Working out.
Nice. Well, Lachlan, can you do me a favor, man? Can you give me your 3 predictions for the season so far? I want to know what you think a pass mark for Collingwood is, who's going to be your best player throughout the season, and I want you to give me another side that you think is going to creep up the ladder this year and be one of those surprise bolters.
Yeah. All right. So pass mark for the Pies, I think, is grand final. Made
nice.
Premiership in 2023. Last year didn't do that well. You can blame the hangover on that, but they've obviously gone all in. We've got some really good ins. Our injuries are pretty minimal. It would only be, I think, excuses, and like you never know what's going to happen. But I view, and this is the beauty of realistically confident Collingwood supporters. I think grand final's the pass mark.
Yeah.
Sound shot with that.
Yeah. Standout player. It's a good one. I'd love to see Dan Houston have a big year coming into the black and white. I think he's hopefully going to really step up and show what he's worth. And then opposition team. Yeah, I mean, I like, I necessarily agree with the Fremantle Smoky. I wasn't that impressed with the Indigenous All-Stars game. Adelaide Crows as a Smoky. Like I watched that game, Brisbane Adelaide. They look pretty good. So
they're due though. They're due to break into the 8. What is it, like 3 or 4 years now in a row where they've finished around that 11th to 13th sort of mark, and they're just sort of like participating every week. Like, and they do one good game and then it's like, well, you've dropped off to the next 4 or something. Like, and like, to be honest, they were pretty stiff against us, like those two, like the last couple of games at the G. So, they're matching it up against, the best. And then obviously we had that one in Adelaide where we knocked them off in, I think, 2022. And there was one other one there, I think, as well. So, they're probably one that's...
Gold Coast probably.
I think they're probably around the same mark. I mean, they're aiming definitely for the top 8, and they've come out and said it. But I don't know. I think they're going to be harder to beat at home. I think they're going to be one of those teams where, when you go there, you don't think it's going to be an easy sort of win anymore. I think we're way past that now.
Yeah, 100%.
George, give me yours quickly before we move on.
Number 1. If we don't win it this year, then I think every year from here for the next couple of years is a bit difficult. With this we got. Second, what was the second one? Player,
yeah, there's like a standout player.
I'd probably go Houston as well.
Yeah.
And third, probably Adelaide as well.
Adelaide, yeah, nice. Well, look, the one thing that I did want to say is that you guys are probably one of the best banter pages that is going out on Facebook. Now, I know that the GWS admin team are up there as well, and they've come up with something pretty decent today as well, albeit a bit premature filming with all the cancellation of the games and stuff for opening round. But I would be very disappointed if one of you didn't post something in retaliation to the shits that they've caused in the last hour.
They usually copy George anyway. That's why.
Yeah.
They usually copy
We can work something out.
All right. That's it, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for giving your predictions and stuff like that. And thanks for sharing all the stuff and helping me out, push the channel heaps and stuff. But stick around. What I want you guys to do is when you guys leave, chuck it in the chat, put your pages and stuff on there so the people who don't follow, which you probably do because you've got a billion of them anyway, chuck them in and where we can find you guys. Alrighty?
Beautiful.
Thanks,
thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Thanks, buddy. All right. So quickly before we add the next one in there, I really wanted to touch on quickly the first couple of fixtures, and I think that we need to sort of like for a season preview, I wanted to sort of talk about the first few games when we saw the fixture, we sort of thought to ourselves, oh shit, like, look at the teams that we're playing against and all this crap and stuff. And, now obviously there was a lot of injuries and stuff like that happening to the other sides. You sort of get the feeling that, oh, hang on a second, we might actually be okay, which I think is a major advantage to us. And this is not our fault. And there's a lot of bullshit being said, oh, Collingwood's playing GWS, they got no one, they're playing Bulldogs, they got no one, Carlton, I've got a few outs now, Sydney have got, Errol's out and stuff like that too. I'm not buying any of that because knowing us, we'll probably drop something that we shouldn't drop. So if that's one thing that I did want to touch on is that now I think we do have the opportunity to go forward in the next sort of up until pretty much the Anzac Day game where we can actually win all of them. And I know it might sound cocky and stuff like that, but with that being said, we've got the opportunity now. So, if guys jump on, put stuff in the chat, tell me what you guys think and stuff like that too. We'll go to our next one. Now, this one here, I really wanted to get him on. I'm going to add Matt from the official Collingwood supporters group in Queensland. Matt, how you going? Can you hear me, Robbo?
Yeah, all good, Andreas. How are you, mate?
No, not too bad, mate. Thank you so much for joining on. First of all, let's just not talk about football for 2 seconds. Just want to know, are you okay? And is everything all good where you are now?
Mate, everything's fine. Panic buying's gone through the roof. It's a hot and sunny day here in Brisbane. But obviously with the cancel or the postponements of the games on Thursday and again on Sunday, we'll see how we go, mate. But I'm getting down to Sydney, or touchwood, getting down to Sydney to see the opening game on Sunday. So fingers crossed.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, perfect. So has there been any announcement on any cancellation of flights or anything like that yet? Or are you driving down? What are you?
No, not as yet, mate. I'll be flying out, but touch and go whether we can get out. I think getting back will be fine, but it just depends when the cyclone hits and obviously the destruction will leave as well.
Is there a bit of an eerie feeling like compared to the COVID seasons? I was listening to the SEN down in Melbourne this morning, and I was listening to Chris Scott, the Geelong coach, speak, and he was saying that there was that COVID feel of just so much uncertainty what was going on. But I suppose now with the AFL finally coming out and saying something, there'd be a bit more clarity in a football sense. But what is it like there now? Is it like you get a bit of that COVID feel now again, or?
Yeah, it is. I walked into the supermarket about 5 o'clock tonight, and shelves are empty. Fresh fruit, bottled water, toilet rolls. It was ridiculous. I literally walked out empty-handed. So, as far as that feels, it's very similar to COVID. My theory is it's going to be here for probably a day or two. So I don't know why people are panicking, but who knows what they do. But the weather's a little bit weird. We've had rain today, albeit a couple of showers. It's been hot, it's been humid, then the rain comes back. So I think tomorrow we'll start to see a bit of a wind pick up, and then obviously it's due to hit Brisbane on Thursday night, Friday morning. So touch wood, it's in the time.
Well, they're saying too that even New South Wales is going to cop a fair bit, and our game is going to be pretty wet. I think they were saying about 20 mil of rain sort of by the time that we play against GWS. So, that's another thing we've got to take into consideration, that even though we're playing down there, it's still going to be wet weather footy.
They just had Jeremy Howe on 360 night asking about the surface at NG Stadium, because obviously it's been under a lot of conjecture the last couple of years. But I think there's a Green Day concert on the weekend just gone or coming up this week. So, who knows?
Yeah, no, it's happening. It's happening pretty much like now, I think, because I know my old man works at Marvel part-time, and he's got Green Day coming up at Marvel as well. So they're touring everywhere. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the cow paddock. But mate, while I've got you on here, I just wanted to say the last few months, we've seen on Facebook that your Collingwood supporter group has really taken off onto the next level, and it's getting quite a bit of traction around all the socials and stuff. How did it come about, and how did you get into the position that you are now with that group?
Yes, we were part of a social group in 2023, the start of 2023. So there was a Facebook group that was already established here in Queensland. The growth of that group, no disrespect to it, wasn't quite as much as what I thought it would be. And obviously with the excitement around 2023, myself and Damien, who runs it with me, sort of broke out and established this group. So we got to 1,000 members pretty much in the space of 4 months after the grand final.
Yeah, nice.
Which was great. Officially recognised by the club by, I think, February, March, or this time last year. And we've just become leaps and bounds. So obviously a really good relationship with Barry Karp, who's the new president. I met Barry in Gather Round last year, and I had one of the boys up here a couple of weeks ago on the Gold Coast for that training camp. We had a show with Craig McRae, Hayden Skipworth, and Barry Karp there. That pulled 180 people on a Wednesday night, so that was a pretty good event. And just had a meeting with the club yesterday, all the supporter groups, and it's all guns blazing for 2025. So if you are interstate and you are a Collingwood supporter that lives out of Melbourne, get on board with your local supporter groups, because there's a lot of good things coming in 2025 that the Collingwood Football Club are handing over to the supporter groups to run on their behalf, and onwards and upwards.
I've noticed the you guys and also the guys down in South Australia, like their stuff's getting quite big on the socials and stuff, which is really good to see, because like every great ground that we go to, regardless of where it is, half the time it's pretty much like a Collingwood home game. I think probably the only one that we sort of really get outnumbered on is WA, and not by much either. You go into Queensland and the Gabba and Gold Coast's ground, whatever it's called now, it's full of Collingwood supporters, which is amazing. So, and that's only going to benefit you guys in the long run.
Absolutely. Well, we went to the game at the Gold Coast last year, and more importantly, the year before in the Premiership year, and we were sitting above the Collingwood bench, and just the sea of black and white there was insane. It was just like a mini Vic Park back in the day. 23,000, 24,000 people there, and 23,500 of those were Collingwood supporters. There was 450 Gold Coast Suns, and the other 50 people were selling hot chips in the kiosk there. Mate. So that's their good footies on the Gold Coast. But it's always great when the Pies go into state, and I did ask Craig McRae on stage a couple of weeks ago what it's like, knowing that you've got that support in the crowd of Collingwood supporters. It does make it such a good travelling side, and it definitely evens up the home ground advantage that sides may have. But even last year, I was out in the ground before the game when the boys ran out against the Lions, and just walking off the ground and walking back to our seats, it was just a sea of black and white. It was phenomenal to see.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's great. Well, I would love to know, are you planning on actually getting down to Melbourne, though, for a few games this season? Have you got any travel plans there?
100%, mate. I'll be down there a fair bit. So I was just in Melbourne last week. Got back to Brisbane on Saturday, so I'm here for a week, and then heading down to Sydney in the next couple of days. And I'm down for the Carlton game for Anzac Day, and then got a couple of other games scheduled on or penciled in on the schedule there, mate. So I love getting back to Melbourne as often as I can, and now the footy's back. It's absolutely fantastic time to be in Melbourne. And
originally a Melbourne boy yourself, or
Adelaide boy originally? But bit of a story there, mate. So so just fell in love with Collingwood at an early age, and obviously it's two of my boyhood idols that I idolised as an 8, 9, 10-year-old. Now I've become friends with. So one was the next Collingwood player, and the other one was the ex-Sydney Swans. But it's funny when you follow the game and you love it as a kid, and then you become mates with some of these players. Some of idols. It's a bit surreal feeling now. So
that's awesome.
It's always good how it pans out.
So what's your predictions for the season? Give me your pass mark for us. I'm not going to worry too much, obviously, about, and I've said it a lot, like I'm going to stay away so much from the final side, but home and away season, what's your pass mark to qualify for finals? Who's going to be your standout player for the season? And another side that you think may creep up the ladder and cause a bit of trouble in the comp this season?
Just to ask the boys that just while I was in the waiting room. Look, I think we've gone chips in. There's no two ways about it. Everyone's talking about, obviously, the aging Collingwood side. You've got to remember, only an average age of 26. Yes, our older players are older, but I think just to get in the finals, Andreas, I mean, we saw last year Brisbane got in there. I didn't expect the grand final. I didn't even expect they'd make the grand final. They got there and make it. Past mark, I think it'd definitely be a top 4 spot and a chance to get it home final. So if we finished, say, for example, we finished third, Geelong finished second, for example, we still play in Melbourne. But the guarantee that you want to be top 2. Standout players for me, look, we're sponsoring Dan Houston as a supporter group here this year. So I was really impressed to see Dan's impact that he had on the play last Wednesday night at Icon Park. He's just so instrumental, and the ease that he does it is just absolutely amazing. But I had Peter Dacos and Tony Shaw up here for a show in November, and Dakes and I agree that Harry Perryman is one that's going to go unmarked. When you look at what he brings to the side, the dynamics that he's going to bring to the side. He had 20 touches on Wednesday night. 10 of those were contested. You look at the midfield, Pendle, Steele, Jordan, DeGoey, the Dacos boys. He's going to be in that sort of next level of player that the opposition is going to have to man up on. So if they're not careful, he's going to run right. He'll get 25, 30 touches uncontested. and just that leads into forward 50. So,
and he's a type of player that will probably kick. He could sneak 2 goals, here and there, and he'll probably most likely have the opportunity to kick, at least 1 goal every game. I found that Perryman's positioning against Richmond, albeit, it might have been against the weaker opposition, but it's still an AFL opposition. He was finding himself in a really good spots, getting the ball out of the pack and hand passing it to the guys on the run. And then the other thing that I said in my live last week was, I think Collingwood, since Nick Dacos has taken that next level, like halfway through or the start of 2023, and he's breaking the packs and he's running and his delivery has been amazing. We haven't had that run with player to go with him. And if you look at the goal that Perryman scored against Richmond, Dacos did all the hard work. He bolted out of the pack in the middle, and then he gave it off right as all the players were about to tackle him. And then he had Harry Perryman side by side with him, excuse the pun there, but he was side by side with him, and he's kicked it from 45, 50 out. And if you look at how many times Dacos has done that, like last season against Brisbane in that last game, and there was the game against Gold Coast as well, where he's getting the 1-2s and stuff. Those players were standing still. He's running the whole time. I think Perryman's finally might be that player that will be side by side with him and that can actually break everything else open. And it might even relieve some of the pressure off him too.
Absolutely agree with you 100%. I spoke with both Harry and Dan up here on the Gold Coast, and I said to him, wait until you play at the MCG in front of 95,000, on Anzac Day especially. And you could see both the boys just were getting so emotional. They had goosebumps on their arms talking about it. But I think for me personally as well, the tall timber that we've got up forward, great to see Dan McStay back on Wednesday night. Great to see Timmy Membry kick 4 goals. They're going to severely assist Checkers there, who's been a standout forward for the last couple of years. And look, no disrespect to Brody, I know him, but he's not a key forward.
No, he's not.
Go to the other spectrum, the small forwards. Bobby Hill, 4 goals in the Indigenous game, 4 goals last week. And how fit is Jamie Elliott looking? I saw him at Matchson the other week. Yeah, if we can stay fit, mate, we're going to be very, very hard to beat. And
it's exciting.
As Craig McRae said, he pulled me up in something I said, we've got a tough start to the season. He said, no, he said, sides have got to play us. And I love that mentality that he takes into the locker room every week. So there's a lot of buzz around the club going back to November. I think obviously having a full preseason under our belt's going to help immensely. And GWS have got a few out on Sunday. So
it's not. It helps they've got a few out, but I'm really liking the fact that it has been a longer preseason. It's sad that we don't have a premiership to celebrate in the off season like now, but it's sort of like a rejuvenated. We've taken our time and we've set ourselves up to be in the best shape possible to attack the season, as opposed to a rushed and limited preseason that we had last year. With that being said, though, I'll be very interested to see how Brisbane handle it after actually winning the flag too and going through it basically 2 years in a row. Who's your sneaky bolter up the ladder this season, you reckon?
Oh, that's a tough question, mate. I think Adelaide are in a good spot. Whether they can get into finals footy, I don't know. A lot of pressure on Nixie this year. A lot of pressure on Gold Coast. They've got to stand up this year. I'm really interested to see how North Melbourne go. They've had another 12 months under their belts with Clarko at the helm. He's no fool, as we know. So they're probably the 3 sides I'll be looking at. I think a little bit's been said about Melbourne. I expect them to slide. Port Adelaide are going to slide for me big time. Especially
you reckon? You reckon Port?
Yeah, I do, mate. Yeah. I think the loss of Houston is massive. Obviously, Butters is out for a few weeks, so they do lose a bit of structure there. But I'll tell you what, if they get a poor start of the season, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Kenny to pull the pin effective immediately. So
they were talking about that. They were talking about that on the radio pretty much the 2 days straight after the announcement was made, and they interviewed the Port Adelaide CEO. I've just forgotten his name for a second, and he was saying that there's no reason that would happen. And you'd think if they did do that, there's so much disruption it would cause, because is Carr then going to take the job straight away, or is it going to go to somebody else interim when he's already there? And it just causes too much unsettlement. Like, at least when Bucks left, it wasn't as if Craig McRae was already an assistant coach ready to take the helm. They just finished off the season and then reassessed. So it'd be interesting. I think they've got the cattle to still make the finals, but I don't think they're going to be making prelims like they have the last few years.
Absolutely agree with you there.
Done. All right. Well, mate, I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for jumping in. When you get off here, please, in the chat, put down where we can find you and stuff like that. But I really appreciate you guys, you coming on, and please stay safe over the next couple of days, and we look forward to seeing you when you come down to Melbourne.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone, mate. Appreciate it.
No, all good, mate. Thanks, mate. Cheers. All right, we'll get another one on, and then we'll get a few more. And I know there's been some popping in and out, but keep coming through. Before we do, we'll just get to some comments quickly too. Hatters, I've seen your comments when George was on there too. I wanted to put this up halfway through, but then I got distracted because I copped a message on my thing. But it said, George, stand up, or you are. He's probably still watching. Stephanos says here, pass mark top 4, minimal injuries. I think that's a main thing for us. If we can reduce the injuries, obviously, this season, then that'll be very handy. I mean, we almost made the finals last year, and at one point we had 17 injuries. I think we were the next worst compared to Richmond. And, you know, halfway through the season, we were like 5th or 6th or something. So hopefully we can go. Hatters has turned around here and said, has RCCS booked the 2025 grand final after party at Pink Lemonade? Yeah, I'm sure there's an asterisk next to the whole dates, if anything, but let's not get too cocky. We need to make the finals first. Michael Gary, he's on. He's been very active on the lives. Thank you very much, mate. Turtle, your shut up Pink Lemonade if it happens. I think it might be. Obviously, the boys at RCCS have posted here where you can find them, so jump onto their Facebook and suss it out. Jess, thank you for joining. She has said, got to run, keep up the good work in Queensland, Matt, and stay safe. Catch us next time. Carting the pies, up the Woodsman. Peter G has turned around and said, seeing that GWS have lost Hogan, Green, and Stringer with Caniglio doubtful, that would be massive if they've lost him. Not really, to be honest. He hasn't. I reckon he'll retire soon. But anyway, should we now be expected to win the match if we are going to be a real contender this season? Regardless of their injuries, my opinion is firmly that no matter what happens, they should still be able to beat GWS regardless, even if they had a full team and if it's away. If they had a full team, would I be expecting them to win? It'd be 50-50 because let's face it, GWS are a good side, so it's a good challenge first up. Do I wish we were playing them at home? 110% like we all do, but at the same time, if you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best with the full side. With their injuries, though, on the flip side, there's no reason why. I mean, DeGoey's our biggest out. Obviously, Todd Mitchell's not ready. Maynard's playing, which is good. Darcy Cameron got away with that knock at training, so he's playing too. You know, apart from Houston, Titch, and DeGoey, albeit 3 majorly important players in our side, we didn't have Houston last season. We didn't have DeGoey for the entirety of last season either. And on top of that, you know, Titch has been out since round 6 or something last year. So really, it's a very similar side that we're going in with. That, you know, adding Membry and Perryman into that. I don't think we're going to. What Matt said is 100%. When he spoke to Craig McRae, which is what he said in the live here, was, you know, teams have to play us. I think we have to get the mentality out that, and myself too. I mean, I say it on my lives all the time. We've got to get that mentality out that, oh, we're coming up against them, we're going to play them. These guys are going to play us. You know, we're a really good side, and you know, we need to be confident in that sense. But as I said, if we're going to be the best, we absolutely have to be the best. So Hatters has now turned around and said Josh Kelly is in doubt too. Jesus Christ. They're going to have to get the media guy. What's his name? Cooper fucking whatever his name is. They're going to have to get him back in the side. Wasn't he playing for Carlton's VFL now? I don't know. We've got here Chris, pass mark top 4 and win the grand final. Go Pies. Well, we hope so. All right, we're going to get another one in now. We are going to go. And we're going to keep it for just a quick few minutes. Kev's Magpies added to the stage. Kev, can you hear me, mate?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Most importantly,
I can hear you, mate. Now, Kev, I want you to tell me quickly. Season preview. What do you reckon? How do you reckon the Pies are going to go? And what's your pass mark for the Pies this season?
I think we'll go all the way. Personally, I think we'll win it this year. I think we'll be top 4. Yeah, I'm very confident. I think the way that we've been training as well, it's been really good. The boys seem to be switched on, and they got that mentality of they've got that hunger in them. So I think with that, you see us having that hunger throughout the early parts of the season. And I think we'll beat the Giants. I think we'll beat Port Adelaide. I also think we'll beat the Bulldogs as well. I know that Giants and Bulldogs have got a few injuries, but for us to really be taken seriously, we have to beat these teams. It doesn't matter how many injuries you got. Unfortunately, every team's going to have some sort of injuries. That's still no excuse. And because the Bulldogs don't have any depth, because they rely on Bontempelli, Chorn at midfield, and they've lost a few as well, that's where you can get them because they've got a younger team. They're not that experienced. Where
That's
compared
what I
to
said.
us, we're more experienced to the Bulldogs.
That's what I was thinking and I said at the start of the live too, is that, when you looked at the fixture at the start of the season and you seen the games that we were going to play at the start, obviously leading up until Anzac Day, right? We're playing pretty much all the finalists from last year, bar Essendon, but it was like a little checkpoint, that game leading up into Anzac Day, where we've got, all these strong sides. Now they have injuries and stuff, and it's really no excuse for them because, if it was us, people would be saying, well, bad luck, everyone has injuries, blah, blah, blah. I think the biggest one is, obviously, if I had to put it in order for the first three games, I think it'd be the Bulldogs are probably the ones that have got the worst ones, then GWS, and then really Port Adelaide are only missing Butters. That's probably their number one player that they'll be missing, albeit he's a great player, 100%. But the Dogs, their depth is, you're right there with their depth. It is now being stretched. You haven't got Bont, you haven't got Hugo Hagen, you haven't got Whiteman, you haven't got Trelaw. So there's a fair bit missing there. Kev, so you reckon that we're going to go all the way and win the flag? Don't get me too excited, mate. I got to go to bed soon, so I don't want to get too happy. But what I want to see is, what do you think outside of Collingwood? Who do you think is going to be the big bolter this season?
I think Essendon will make the 8. This is a make or break for them. I also think Freo potentially as well. I still think the Giants will still make it, but the way that they played, I know it's an unofficial preseason and an official preseason game. The way that the Giants got exposed, my thinking is, if we play like how Carlton did and we play like we did against Richmond and put them to the sword and play that attacking brand and have keeping soft basically so they can't take the intercept marks that they want to with Sam Taylor, I definitely do think that we can definitely beat those teams. But I think North are another one that can win 5 to 7 games as well. I think they will get better with Caleb Daniel, Luke Parker, Jack Darling's another one that's come in as well. So they've got that experience.
He actually looked really good against West Coast. He
did. If it wasn't for the inaccuracy too.
That was great. Well, Kev, I just want to say thank you so much for joining today, man. You've been one of my main ones here since day dot, so I really appreciate you coming on and always contributing to the lives and stuff like that. So if you can keep doing that for me, mate, that'll be awesome.
Can't wait to meet you in person too, Andrew.
Yeah, 100%, mate. That would be awesome, mate. Well, you take care. Thank you so much for joining and giving us your opinion on the season. Thanks heaps, Kev. All right, just quickly too, guys. We're gonna. I want to talk about. We're obviously previewing the season and stuff like that, and keep your comments and stuff coming through. That'd be awesome. But the dual position players that we've got around the entire ground, and I've spoken about this before, but I really do think that it's going to be something that we're going to have to, utilize this season, especially if we do get a few injuries with the depth that we've actually got inside. I mean, Josh Dacos can play in the middle, and he's playing off the half back. The one that I'm really interested to see, and I want you guys to sort of tell me this as well. Jeremy Howe, where does he fit? Now, Reef's obviously going to take, I think he's going to take either fullback or centre half back, and I posted my team in my last video, so go back and see. I put him in centre half back, but him and Darcy Moore can pretty much switch just like Mycheck and McStay can. But I'm really interested to see what happens with Howe, because let's say if Reef does start, you've got potentially, like, let's just say, I'm not going to use round 0 because it's obviously we've got the injuries and stuff like that. But let's say against Port Adelaide, De Goey's fit, ready to go. And then you've also got Dan Houston, who's coming straight in, right? Dan Houston takes one side. Then you've got the other side is going to be Josh Dacos. In the back pocket, you've got Maynard. The other back pocket, you've got Quainer. Then you've got Reef, and then you've got Darcy Moore, or vice versa. Does Jeremy Howe start on the bench, or do we keep Jeremy Howe potentially as a backup forward and play him similar to, potentially in his last year of footy? Can he be the Tyson Goldsack swingman type of player where he starts on the bench and then we utilise him? I was looking at the team and I was thinking to myself, Howe still offers us so much regardless of his age and his leadership, even though he's not a leadership group, it's just leadership in general. Like, where does he fit in the side? Is he going to be starting? Is someone like a Braden Maynard going to start on the bench, or is Reef going to start on the bench and you put Howe centre half back? What happens there? Because we've got to remember too, Markov played because Maynard did it against Richmond. So, Maynard's going to go straight in there. He's the spiritual leader of the club. Where does that leave Jeremy Howe? I'd love to get people's opinions, because I'm looking at the side. I'm thinking it's a damn good side when you've got one of the best backmen in the competition in Jeremy Howe, right? He's top 20 backman in the competition, easy, right? And he may not even start on the field for us. So, I'll see what Flag Pies has just said here. Talking Collingwood with my mate this afternoon, he brought up the point that premierships are built up your bottom six players. They actually said that on AFL 360, on the couch last night with Bucks and Brownie. Swans will have a slide down a few spots this year, and the Hawks will rise up a few as well. Yeah, I'm not sold on Hawthorn yet. Like, I reckon they'll be top six, they'll be in the top 8, probably top 6, but yeah. We've got here, Howell plays a floater across the halfback inside D50, particularly with his aerial abilities, but I just think he may lose that slight springy step because he's getting a bit older now. So it's just going to be interesting to see, but he still starts regardless. No matter what, he obviously still starts. Kev said again, this is an opportunity to beat the Giants in the wet and suits us more than GWS. I'm not sure about that. I think if it was wet at the G, maybe us, but at their ground, I think that's a bit of a touch and go. But with their outs and stuff, and like Turtle said before, if Josh Kelly's also doubtful and stuff too, that's a big thing. But the biggest thing with the GWS game, and I'm going to get Sean in a second too. He's been waiting patiently, but with GWS, the biggest killer for me is their forward line. I think we match up with them amazingly with our forwards and their defense. I think we completely destroy them. Then you've got the mids, which, to be honest, we've probably got top 3 midfield in the competition, which I don't really see how they're gonna they're gonna have their patches and stuff like that. I mean, Richmond did against us in the second quarter last week, but their forward line, their full strength forward line, was something that I was very, very worried about. I mean, I think it was Callum Brown last year kicked four goals against us in the opening round. I mean, and he was playing on a half-forward flank, just clunking them and kicking goals from God knows where. So there's him as well if he plays too. So, now that they've got Jesse Hogan out and Stringers out, I mean, that, Toby Green's playing, but our defense now, albeit if we had Houston playing, it would be a lot easier. But our defense now sort of matches up better with those players missing. So that's my opinion on that one there. I'd love to see what you guys think also. Sean, I'm getting you in now. Ultimate Greatness. Yep. Thank you for waiting so patiently, man. I appreciate it. Love the background too, mate. You got to tell me how we get that happening, because although I do like my merchandise and stuff on the back here, I don't want to put that up, but that looks pretty good, mate. Thank you so much for joining. First of all, you've been one of my OGs from the start, which has been great. So thank you so much for contributing all the time and stuff. It's been great. You were with me when I had no subscribers, and now I've got almost 630 something. So thank you so much for doing all that. Give me your season predictions, man. Tell me how you think we're going to go. First of all, give me a quick rundown for this opening round. I want to hear your thoughts for the GWS game.
All right. So obviously with the Giants, I mean, obviously I reckon it's become a lot easier with obviously all the outs. And I just think it probably also helps us the fact that with how last season also happened as well too. I wouldn't even be surprised if the boys even want to make a statement against the Giants, given that how we also didn't play the way that we wanted to. So I feel like the boys are going to want to show up and they're going to want to make a statement, not only because of themselves and how they want to get the ball rolling, but also I think there might be a bit of a form of like redemption from like last season as well too, because I think obviously, even though that it's not obviously the Giants' fault to why we had a bad start, but they were the catalyst to us having the bad start. So I wouldn't even be surprised if that's in our minds a little bit, and I can see us. I mean, obviously we're going to be trying every week. I mean, that's obviously no doubt, but I think there might be a bit extra in this, and obviously with Fly wanting to be professional every week, the mantra that he has that we try to be winners. I think the mentality and the intent will be to win, and maybe not necessarily win big, but obviously to put on a good show and to have that just to get the ball rolling, to have a good start.
Well, there's a comment that Peter G's just put on here, which I'd love to get your opinion on, which you don't really think about too much in depth, but he said, not forgetting the Giants have lost Perryman and Peatling, who were key cogs in their side last year, particularly Perryman, which is 100% too. I mean, even going in before that, and I've said this before too, like if you look at the GWS prelim final from 2023, and you look at the plays, and I ended up watching the game probably about, I don't know, just after we picked up Perryman. I went back and I watched a lot of the finals, and you don't notice the things that Perryman did, obviously because we won the game and stuff, and you don't worry about it. But when you watch the replay and you see the plays that Perryman did, the intercept marking from defense, and the way he got the ball and he drove it into the middle to Jesse Hogan a few times and stuff like that, I think that's going to be valuable to us. I really think that that's going to be something that's going to kill GWS on the weekend, which is what obviously we want. But do you think now that obviously with their outs they've got, this is now our opportunity really to make a statement in this game?
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, just as you were talking about like Perryman as well too. I mean, that's why I basically started the whole the comparison with Hoskin Elliott, where like someone like a Hoskin Elliott, like he doesn't really get the accolades that he deserves, but I guess that's kind of the role he plays. Like the role comes with that territory, if that makes any sense. When you have guys on the, and I guess Hoskin does play on the outside, but like when you have your outside midfielders that are your flashy players, they're the ones to sort of get the recognition, where your inside midfielders, like, and I know like Tom Mitchell's like highly respected, and we have some inside mids at the club and stuff, but it's the guys that get down and dirty sort of thing, and guys that will do the team things that the average person may not want to do. Those are the things that you got to put in that extra effort to actually like acknowledge. Obviously, the club does that because I mean Hoskin Elliott plays every week, and I feel like Perryman will be no different. And I mean, I've been saying since the day we signed him, like that 900K, I believe, which was the report that we signed him for. Yeah, I thought it was spot on in terms of how much we should have like paid for him and stuff. Which I think some people are starting to turn around now, but I remember saying that at the time, and it wasn't a popular take, but yeah, I think we'll start to see that 900K will start to look pretty nice once So once we get the ball rolling,
but it's not just on that too, and I think people are forgetting that it's not. It might be 900K that we've signed him for a year for his contract, but it could be, which we don't know the ins and outs unless it's come out, which I'm not privy to that information, but a lot of that stuff could be either front-ended or back-ended or, loaded up in the middle of the contract or whatever to balance out the books too. So he might not be getting in his first year, for example, hypothetically, he might not be getting 900K. He could be getting 600 or 700. And then the last year of his contract, then they do a big dump there, or it could be a big dump at the start where he's getting 1.5 mil for the year, and then they're spacing it out once we get some retirements to bring in another player. Like there's so many ways about it. And to be honest, the way that he played, even though albeit a practice game against Richmond, I found it so refreshing that we know we're not going to have Tom Mitchell in for the next 5 years. He's probably got 1 to 2 seasons left in it, and that's with his body being 110% ready to go once he gets over this setback, which he almost is. But can you play a Tom Mitchell and a Perryman in the same side? Would you have to move Perryman to the wing? Where does that leave other players? Does it push Ed Allen out of the side? Or have you decided that, no, Perryman's the guy that you're going to keep as the in and under midfielder to get that ball and then to bring it out and to free up players like a Dacos and to free up players like a Houston if he has to rotate in the middle and a De Goey in that matter. But as I said with Matt before, I just found his positioning around the ground and the way that he was feeding it out to the defenders who are running through and obviously running with Dacos is something that we've been screaming for the past couple of years. Probably not so much in 23, but definitely last season and probably in 22 as well. Sean, I really wanted to get your thoughts on, what's your pass mark this season? Who's going to be your big bolter player for us, or who's going to be the standout player for us? And you can state the obvious. You can state a youngster. I probably should have chucked the youngster in there too. You can give me who your youngster is going to be. But who do you think also is going to be the other side that challenges? Because I'll be really interested to think to see what you say on that one.
Yeah, so in terms of a pass mark, I feel like just because of Collingwood as a whole, we're always a very successful club. We're always competing, we're always up there, and obviously it's been pretty obvious that it's pretty much flag or bust. I would still probably find a way to be happy if it's like a prelim, finish. Because you just don't know what can happen. For all we know, we could have a doomsday scenario happen, and then to make a prelim from there. Obviously that would be a pretty good effort, but it's also, for me as well too. Like the grand final just seems like so far away, and I know it's ironic saying a prelim finish when it's like the week before, but like it's so like. I'm more focused on building the foundations, like getting a top 4, top 2 spot, getting that qualifying final, hopefully a home final, which is why I say top 2, and then you get that home qualifying final, and then you move to the prelim, and then you sort of go, okay, this is the game. Let's see if we want it enough, and then if we win the prelim, then we have a shot for the grand final.
So your pass mark then for the home and away season obviously is to finish top 4 and then see what happens from there.
I would want top 2, but I'd be happy with top 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, nice. And who's your standout player for the season? Give me your standout player and a rising youngster. Who do you reckon?
All right, so standout player. I'll say this by saying that I should be making videos real soon. I'll just give a little bit of a tease that Tim Membry, I reckon, will be leading our goal kicking this year. So nice. I can really see him, being the standout player. Because even though I feel like he'll be competing with Brody week on week, but I just feel like with Membry, it just seems like too much of a fit, and it just seems the way he's just fitting in seamlessly within the club. I just feel like he's gonna have a season where he'll kick 50 plus. But I'll obviously make a video very soon about the stats.
Yeah, make one, and I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, because there's a stat. I'm telling you now, when you see the stat, you go, oh, okay, yeah, this actually might be seriously on. So. And then for one of the kids,
I want to get back to Membry. I want to get back to one point of Membry before you give me the kid. Yep. I don't understand why, from another club's point of view, fair enough, St Kilda delisted him, whatever. There must have been something in the background there, or he asked to change, whatever, for his mental health or for just his personal reasons he wanted to leave, right? Yep. But how other clubs weren't like so desperate to get him in. I look at another club like Melbourne, for example. They've got no like absolute standout apart from Van Rooyen. They've got no absolute standout big tall key forward. Tom McDonald's finished. They've lost Ben Brown. Max Swan doesn't want to play forward. He's a ruckman. Brody Grundy lasted all of 2 seconds. They don't have that play. I think he would have been almost a better fit at Melbourne than what he would with us, but he complements everyone around him, I suppose, in our side. But I just can't believe a team like Melbourne didn't go for him. I can't believe a team like North Melbourne didn't go for him with next to Larky. I can't believe a team like Richmond didn't, try and break the bank to get him, because Lynch is always out at the same time too, and there's so many other sides that he could have fit into, but he's come to us and he's going to complement. It's not so much I think about what Tim Membry does himself throughout the season. It's the pressure that he relieves off everybody else. And Jamie Elliott, who's 5'10", right? And believe it or not, and I said this before, he's the same height as Lockie Schultz. Like these guys, they're not tall forwards. That's why Jamie's career has gone the way it has, because he's been banged up so many times, and he's playing as a second tall forward. Mychek's had to play as the number one forward, which he's not. Mychek's the 2 or 3. Elliott's the forward pocket or the half forward flanker, you know? And I think his presence is now going to be able to relieve everybody else to do their trade properly. But I just can't believe a side like Melbourne and Richmond didn't want to try and get him in. It's just, I'll be really interested to see your video on that. I just wanted to put that point in there. Tell me who your youngster is.
So, I mean, I've pretty much been on this kid for pretty much since he's like draft year. I mean, Ed Allen, I just have massive raps with. But in saying that too, and I have said this across a few like platforms as well, there's just something that's just not going away with me in terms of Oscar Steen. Not in the sense where he'll like debut off the bat and he'll play like the whole season, but I just feel like there's going to be at some point, maybe like midway through the year, he's going to play, and I mean, I know it's probably a bit raw to like talk about it, given that with the Darcy Cameron stuff just coming out. I could even see like a position where we sort of do a similar to not like a Grundy situation, but we sort of look at like Steen, and if he has like a really good career, if he has a really good season, we sort of look at Cameron and go, okay, well, if West Coast are able to offer, say, 2 first-round picks, we throw them a first as well, and we throw Cameron as well. So Cameron a first, and then we get 2 first-round picks. If we have Steen that can sort of like step up and sort of be that sort of player to not like take over, because that would just be too much of a too much on his shoulders. But I mean, I can, there's just something about Steen I'm just really sort of bullish on, and it's just this feeling just won't go away. So I don't know if that's
It'll be interesting to see if he does get his chance this season, and I think he will obviously get one over Smith regardless. I know they're both a bit injured at the moment, but when that opportunity comes, he will get the first crack at it, and then I think that'll be the end of Mason Cox when that happens. But you never know. Cox might come in and then start dominating, too. So that's all a massive jigsaw puzzle. But it's an idea that's out there. And if you're bullish on him, that's totally fair enough. And I'd love to see a ruckman come up like that, because we didn't get that with Aiden Begg, obviously, because his back was cooked the whole time. So it'd be, which I thought that he might have actually been a really good get for us, but it just couldn't happen. But give me your one team outside that you reckon is going to pop up this year and surprise everyone.
I reckon North. I reckon North is the team. It has to be this year. I mean, a lot of the moves that they've had was very similar to what we did in the 22 trade period. They went and got like senior guys that are coming in, because it's not necessarily the senior guys that they got in, but it's the guys that they're going to theoretically like leave out. So you bring in a Caleb Daniel, you bring in a Jack Darling, you bring in a Luke Parker. I believe I can't remember the dude from Sydney that they got, small forward. But that's four players you're bringing in. Like we did the same thing in the 22 off season going to 23, and obviously that worked out. That obviously worked out fantastic for us, but. And then obviously when you get those guys in, then there are guys that maybe not necessarily how do I say this without being nasty, but like that aren't sort of as deserving of a game as say someone like a Jack Darling and all the guys I just mentioned. It just the cogs in the wheel, I guess, is probably the term I will use. When you have better cogs in the wheel, then obviously the wheel is going to turn more efficiently, more better, and it's going to turn out a far better result.
and
So
they've
then
got a
plus the
pretty good
experience.
coach. They've got a pretty good coach.
And then the coach as well
His
too.
body.
So and then also the kids that are coming through, like a
Sheasel,
Colby
Wardlaw.
McKercher. Like
McKercher.
Colby McKercher
Yeah.
is someone that rarely gets talked about, and he's not far away. Finn, I'm not too sort of sold on, because even though he's a fantastic footballer, but during his draft years, he's had a bit of like anytime when he's needed to have like a big sort of patch of good footy, he seems to get injured. So he's probably going to be a bit more of a long term sort of thing. But
where do you reckon they'll finish on the ladder?
Oh, they'll definitely be teasing for finals.
Really?
Like I'm that confident. Because every year there's always. Oh, I'm pretty sure there's a stat like every year
like
every
year there's two teams that sort of push for the top 8 and one drops out and sort of thing. So 100%, I know what you're saying.
So,
I'm going to let you go here. I've got to get the other guys on, but thank you so much for joining in. As I said to you, man, thank you so much for your support of the channel over the past 6 months and stuff. I think it's almost been 6 months now. It's been crazy, but we're here now at the start of the season. So post your videos, drop in the chat, obviously, where everyone can find you. But I'd love to see what you guys have got, what you've got in store for us as well. That'd be awesome. But thank you so much for joining, Sean. Appreciate it, mate.
No, all good. Happy to be here, and all the best.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers. We'll just touch in some of the comments quickly, because I got a very special guest that's about to come on. He's been waiting extremely patiently. But I think Jimbo has put something really good up here, where he's gone all things considered. Obviously, when the part where I said that could be the end of Mason Cox, if someone like an Oscar Steen and stuff like that broke through, all things considered, Cox has given us absolutely everything he could. Kudos to him. I love Cox, and I've said this a million times, and it's like beating a dead horse. I still think he is in our best 23 when he's fully fit, because of the what he offers Darcy Cameron, the relief he gives Darcy Cameron, the way the Cox and Cameron combination works, won us a premiership in 23. And I've said this before, you all know, in 23, we had Billy Frampton and Ash Johnson doing our rucking for, I think it was between 4 and 6 weeks, until Cameron came back from his knee and Cox came back from that chest injury that he had. When they came back, we won a flag. I still think Cox is obviously in that best makeup. With the players pushing, this is a good problem to have. Will he be there at the end of the season? I've got no idea, but I do think that if he's playing his best footy, he still is obviously still up there. I'm going to get one more guest in. We're going over the hour tonight, so that just, guys, I mean, I know it's like 9:30, but I don't care. We're going over the hour. I'm going to get him in right now. Turtle, welcome to the Black and White United show. This has been a long time coming. I'm very happy that you joined tonight.
Great to join you, mate. First of all, just want to say congratulations on getting so many subscribers since you started this after last season. So well done, Andres.
Yeah.
Great to see
thanks,
great to see another good Collingwood content producer.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. I did say in our usual lives on Instagram, which I don't encourage everybody to go on, but I did say on our lives that, I reckon I can do this. And I was always teasing us in the chat in our little lives. I really should do a podcast, or we should get together and do a podcast or something. And then there was a bit of hesitation. I thought, you know what, stuff it. I'm going to jump on YouTube and I'm going to do it and stuff. And it's worked out well, and the season hasn't even started yet. And I did it after we got knocked out of the final. So we're going to, obviously, everything I've spoken about with everybody, we're sort of everyone's on the same path, but I'd be really interested to see just a quick preview from you for this GWS game, and then obviously your takes on the rest of the season. But do you think now that obviously with the GWS injuries and, taking into consideration the weather conditions and stuff like that, that we're probably going to face over there as well, do you think that we're in a prime spot here to really put a message out to the competition?
Well, you look at the same time last year, and almost the roles were reversed. We were hit with a lot of injuries going into this game, or should I say, a lot of players underprepared because of that shortened compressed pre-season after being premiers. But like our guys have had an extra 5 weeks. They're mentally and physically in a lot better position, and it's the GWS who have copped the injury carnage, and I fully expect to win on Sunday. Don't know how much it's going to rain. Depending on which sort of forecast you look at, it's like 1 to 20 mils, and you don't know how much rain is going to be on Friday as well. And as you alluded to earlier, that ground is just shocking. So
and they got the concert on there beforehand. There's the Green Day concert.
Yeah. So listen, if we could just get away with the win, get out of that shithole with the 4 points and no injuries, I'll be happy. So 100%. I'll take it. I'll take a couple of goal win, in a wet sort of sloppy sort of game if it turns out that way, and no injuries, and that'll be just the perfect catalyst for the season.
The outs they've got are pretty big compared to other teams that we've played throughout over the last couple of seasons and stuff. And you look at the games that we've got obviously coming up. Not just GWS. I mean, Porter got Butters out, which is massive too, and then the Dogs are just depleted at the moment. You looked at the fixture at the start of the season, you probably thought to yourself, "Oh Jesus, what have they done to us?" And we didn't even make the finals last year compared to other teams anyway. But then. Yeah, at the same time, I say to everybody, if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And I think this is our opportunity right at the start of the season to actually send that message out to them. What do you think about, the fixture in general that they gave us? What's your opinion on that?
Pretty much what you said. It is what it is. We tend to have a pretty similar sort of fixture when you look at it because of the way like Anzac Day falls, and now that we play the Lions on Easter Thursday, it's pretty predictable. It just depends when, say, Anzac Day is a Thursday or Easter Thursday or Friday, how our season will flow. So this year it's a lot better because I think it's Anzac Day a Friday or a Saturday. I think this year
Anzac Day is the Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot easier this year for our season to flow because you've got that Easter Thursday game, the Anzac Day on a Friday. We've got a much better flow than when you have it like Anzac Day on a Tuesday or Wednesday. It can make it a little bit clunky.
And then you have to play the game on a Sunday.
Yeah. So I think we're set up this year to. I'd expect after the first 6 rounds we should be really 5-1 or 4-2. I'd be disappointed if we weren't that after 6 rounds.
Well, I was saying to my old man, even though with the teams that are playing against in the first 3 games, even with the injuries they've got, if we were to walk away, 2 wins, 1 loss, I wouldn't be too fussed considering. But with that being said, now you probably still think to yourself, geez, there's no reason why we can't, get the 3-0 this season compared to last year where it was just it was 0-3 until we went up to Brisbane and you didn't think we were going to beat them up there, and then we ended up doing something pretty cool up there, which was good. What's your take on? And we all know, for those that know you quite well, we've obviously heard you. Say your piece and stuff like that, but just the ticketing system and the way that it's happened at the moment, to get those tickets for those first few games. And I'm an gold AFL member, as you know. You're obviously you're a Legends member. What was it like getting those? And how many games did you actually have?
I only needed to get tickets for what was it, the Kangaroos game at this point. But that was a bit disappointing because it was a Kangaroos home game, which I understand, but was it 20 odd years I've been a Legends member, I've had seats on ground level at Marvel, and this year we found out that we got stuck up on level 3, so that was a little bit disappointing. I understand it's Kangaroos home game, but I'd be very surprised with that game that all those seats on ground level will get filled by the Kangaroos members, because when I was looking a couple of days later, there was a lot of seats on ground level that weren't purchased. Now, I would have thought if you're a Kangaroos member, and that's your home game, and you're playing against Collingwood, you'd be jumping all over those level 1 seats that were available. And 2 or 3 days after, there was still a lot of seats available, and a lot of those seats was where us Collingwood legends were there. So, but yeah, that's it.
On that too, though, what was the actual access like on the internet? Did you have to queue up or anything to get the tickets, or did you just go straight in?
Yeah, it took me a while. I think originally I was like, I think it was 1,000 in the queue, and it sort of moved reasonably quickly. It probably took me 35 minutes in the end.
Okay, and that was with Ticketmaster though, because it was a Marvel.
Yeah, that was with Ticketmaster. Yeah. I didn't have to redeem any tickets for the MCG at this point.
George has just come out now. I was going to put your comments when George was on there, but he's now said that Turtle think this is 3AW talkback. But Turtle,
I think it's been well documented. I mean, there's so many people complaining about the ticketing situation at the start of the year and at the final and when the finals happen, and we keep getting told by the AFL and everyone involved that the situation is going to improve, but it doesn't. I know speaking to some people I know at Collingwood that they're trying to influence the MCC and Marvel and the AFL as much as they can, but unfortunately Collingwood's hands are tied. In a lot of these situations, because
it's definitely not a club thing. I mean, it's not a club thing. It's nothing like the debacle before the grand final for the Collingwood members, in particular with their ticketing stuff. This is a total different sort of kettle of fish, because you're using a different platform with different members. The thing that I found the hardest with the AFL members side of things was you got access to like the first, I think it was rounds 1 to 5 and whatever it was. Yeah, like we haven't even got access to our Anzac Day tickets yet. So, we got the ones at the start, but the problem was when you actually go into the portal to get your ticket. So my first thing was I jumped on. I had 3 devices going. I had my laptop on now. I had my work phone and my personal phone going crazy to get it fine. But the problem was that I selected one for each game. So the laptop was the Carlton game, my personal phone was the Port Adelaide game, my work phone was the Bulldogs game, because the problem was as soon as you got into the portal and you got tickets,
it would dump you.
Yeah, so I was able to get the Carlton ticket at the start, which I thought good, because that's probably the one game that's going to sell out pretty quick. There's no guest passes, no nothing for that one. Then the second one was obviously the Bulldogs game, because it's their home game and it's their 100-year anniversary game. So once a year, the Bulldogs fans are actually going to try and show up, and they're going to, fill up, a fair chunk of the stadium. And I'm thinking to myself, you obviously need to try and get them. But I was 15,000. Once I got the Carlton tickets, I'm like, oh, awesome. I'll go back and then click, try and get the next ticket. And I got jumped out, and then I went back in the queue, and I was 30,000. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, now I've got to wait here. My missus is telling me we're going to go pick up the little one from daycare, and I've got to try and get out with 2 phones going off trying to get tickets. I just thought that side of things, you got 6 minutes to get tickets. It's ridiculous, and I don't understand why.
They definitely need specific queues for specific games, and they'll probably say, oh, we haven't got the software capabilities to do it. Well, spend the money.
Crap.
Like we're all paying. People are paying transaction fees for a service, and they're not providing a service.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I really don't know what it's going to take, because unfortunately, it's a captured market. Because people are so desperate to go to the games. What other alternative have you got? You have to get the tickets if you want to go.
But this is why I think even with like AFL and your club memberships, surely with your membership, the ones that have been there for the longest, they should have a selected seat, not just for home games. It should be for home games or away games, and you can just go on there, punch in your barcode, and you pay an extra price anyway, and then you can either redeem a ticket or then straight away you get a ticket for a much cheaper price or whatever it is. You pay a booking fee. Who cares to get it on your phone? But it's just a seamless process, you know, and there's no queues or anything because you've already got the physical card, you've got the physical barcode. Long gone are the days where you just swipe your barcode in and you get in. From an AFL member's point of view, that's gone now. You can't do that.
Yeah,
you know, you've got to redeem a ticket. Turtle, I do want to get your thoughts on the season. Who do you reckon? What's the pass mark for the Pies this season? Like, and probably more for the home and away side of things. You stand
home
out.
and away. Yep, home and away. I'd expect us to finish top 4. I can't see any reason why we can't. Given we have a good run with injuries and we play to our potential. You know, ideally you'd want to finish top 2, but I think given the way we play interstate, I think we can still make a decent crack at it, even if we had to play an interstate final. So, top 4.
Nice. And 2 players, your standout player and a young bolter who's going to try and crack into the side.
I think the skipper, Darcy Moore, is set up for a really good season. He's had a injury-free pre-season. Physically he's fine. And I think importantly for Darcy, he's had a really good mental refresh as well. I mean, you saw after that, we saw the, take the steps video, like how mentally spent he was after the prelim and the grand final. And I think that really impacted it.
Even the qualifying, he was just like, wow, like it's happening. And the prelim, that part where he was in the car with his hands in his head, and he was like, Jesus, like, we're here. But, like that was full on when I was seeing that. I'm thinking, geez, these guys are regardless. And I don't know, did you watch that preview, or not preview, that episode that Damien Barrett put on the AFL website? He was with Craig McRae, and then Craig actually said that he had some talking with Darcy, and this is what we want and stuff. And Damien Barrett was making it like it was a hard conversation, but Craig was like, it wasn't. It was just, this is what we want to do together. This is what I need of you moving forward. And there was nothing really to resolve or anything out of it. They just outlined what they wanted to do. It's going to be interesting to see now with Houston in defence too, what that actually does for the structure. Like, does the Houston and Dacos combination pushing up forward give Darcy that little bit of more leeway when the ball's on the ground as opposed to in the air? Like, what does that do? Does he have to push himself up and find himself?
I think, and you touched on it earlier, how they utilise Howe. If McGuinness can, at least get somewhere near to what Nathan Murphy did in 2023, and Howe plays like he did at the back end of 2023, that's going to allow Darcy to start dominating the air like he did that season. So I think that missing that extra sort of medium sort of tall really impacted on Darcy last year as well. So I expect him. Ed Allen has to be the one. He looks physically ready now. I mean, he played that 1 or 2 games last year, and he played that really good game the last round against Melbourne. He came on against Richmond in a space of about like 35 minutes, and he just got the ball at will. There was one sort of pass he did on the outer side of the ground. He was running at top pace, kicked it beautifully. Dare I say it, he could be our version of Patrick Cripps in about 3 or 4 years, because he's just got the big body. Yeah, he's got the body. He's got the hands. He can mark well. He's got pace. He ticks a lot of boxes.
Beautiful. And who do you reckon is going to be the side, apart from us, that does really well this season? Who's going to sneak?
It got touched on earlier. You'd expect Adelaide to improve. Whether they improve sufficiently enough to get in the 8 will be interesting. I think like they finished, what was it? I think maybe 3 games or 3.5 games out. So you'd probably think they'd pick up on those games. And another one, which probably might surprise you, and I think it's by virtue of them having a soft draw. I think Melbourne might actually rebound a bit. Because they finished where they did, they've got a very soft draw. So, I don't exactly know their draw inside out, but if they get to play Richmond twice, the Eagles twice, and maybe the Kangaroos, or at least 5 out of them, 5 of them this year, that's a lot of cheap wins.
Jeez, I'd love to be in that position, getting the cheap wins and not playing, all the big boys twice. I mean, I've got here, they've got Carlton, Brisbane.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Like, it gives you a bit of a false economy because, like, Essendon have done that a couple of times when they've dropped down the ladder and then they've got the soft draw, and then they get all these double wins against the shit teams, and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, the Bombers are flying." But then when they go up a notch to that next tier and they play the tougher teams, they just fall back again.
Well, that was like us in 21. We had a better draw in 22 from finishing second last, but we still had our marquee games. Like, you still got to play against Carlton. You've still got to play, the Queen's birthday or King's birthday game. You've got to play the Brisbane Easter game. You've got to play Anzac Day. You've got to play against the Dogs away at Marvel, and they were peaking at that stage. So, we had the better, but we're a club where you've got those marquee games where you go into the season knowing like half of the fixture anyway on what's going to happen. It's just I've written down here this season we've got Carlton twice, Brisbane twice, Melbourne twice, Hawthorn twice, Fremantle twice, Adelaide twice, and Melbourne twice. So there's no real easy beats in that too. Because it's.
Well, Carlton are pitches.
I hope so. I hope we'll fucking just smash them this season. Just shut them up. Fuck, it'd be nice there. Anyway, it is what it is. Turtle, I'm going to let you go because I'm going to wrap up this live soon. But thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it, mate. And you're welcome anytime I do.
Great to be on, mate.
Thank you very much, mate. I look forward to hearing you on
Cheers,
SEN tomorrow morning. Thank you. Cheers, see you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
See you. All right, so we'll just go through the comments really quickly before we wrap things up. Thoughts on the grind episodes? I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've actually seen the first 2. I haven't seen the last 2 yet. I'm saving it for just before the game starts. Just a bit of preview before the actual game starts on Sunday. So just to sort of get me in the G'd up in the mood. Not that I probably need it anyway. These comments are just awesome. But guys, first of all, thank you so much for joining into the live tonight. We've had quite a few people on. We've had Matt from the Queensland supporter group. We've had the boys from RCCS. We've had Kev. We've had Sean. We've had Turtle on. It's been amazing. I've had a few people message me on my phone and also in the chat there. The hoodies. This was a templated hoodie that I got done from the supplier. So I obviously wanted to see how it was. They've turned out amazing. So I'm going to be putting a Shopify link on my YouTube channel probably within the next week or so. Me and the missus are going to set everything up, and then that'll obviously come out. We are a few days away now. I did want to do this live on Thursday, but I thought to myself originally I'm not going to do it on Thursday because the footy's starting, and then obviously a cyclone happened. So that's why I put it on the Tuesday, because I didn't want it to clash with the first one. But thank you all so much for joining. I don't really have much more to go on by, but I will say that my pass mark for us this season is top 4. I think that's probably the most important thing for us, is to get that top 4 position, get that double chance, and obviously hopefully push into the top 2. The way that we've looked over the preseason, and Kev said it when he was on too, they do look a lot better and more refreshed compared to last year. So that's awesome. It's going to be crazy, but I'm so excited for what we've got to come. Everybody, thank you so much for joining on this live. It's been awesome. Tell me what you think. Drop a comment when this goes onto YouTube. Call it as you see it. And as always, guys, go the Pies.